Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. The world has changed. Until maybe a decade back, business promotion took place through mediums like the print media, television, radio, outdoor media, and exhibitions. However, the onset of smartphones and iPads or tabs with 24/7 internet connectivity, well supported by low prices of data, has changed this landscape. From ordering a dosa online to visiting the app more than the bank, the mobile revolution spelled a massive disruption for the traditional marketing models. As per a recent survey, we in India spend over 3.5 hours on our smartphones every day. We also download over 19 billion apps in 2019, the world's highest. Smartphones are the last thing 80% of us in India see before we sleep. Switching off mobile phone makes us feel bored, sad, and disconnected. Looking at this trend, companies have started to allocate higher budgets to promotions via social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and others. The onset of the coronavirus health crisis, which struck India in March 2020, has provided a major push towards everything digital, including media consumption and further adoption of e-commerce for even small and medium businesses. This short span of 3 months has altered the way we engage with each other and our client ecosystems. Due to the restrictions on large gatherings, exhibitions, and conferences, we have moved online. In fact, we at Plexconcil are already planning virtual exhibitions as well as B2B meetings. The emphasis on physical meetings has diminished, and we have discovered the practicalities of using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangout, and WebEx, etc. Let me state that we are in uncertain times, but with the increase of remote working and a collaborative approach, we should turn to digital channels and embrace the transformation. Hope today's deliberations will immensely help all the viewers. I shall now end with a quote from Mr. Richard Branson, founder Virgin Group. Every success story is a tale of constant adaptation, revision, and change. I would now like to hand this over to Mr. Mr. Ginu Joseph, to take this session forward. Thank you, gentlemen. I hope you will enjoy the webinar today. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all your good words. And the world is changing. Let me introduce. I don't think so. I have to say a lot of things about Mr. Ravish Kamath, but still, as a protocol, talking about a small profile of which is Plastic Export Promotion Council since September 2018. Mr. Ravish Kamath is Chief Executive Officer of Big Bang International Private Limited, one of the major manufacturers and exporters. Mr. Ravish Kamath was the founder president of IFI BCA, which is Indian Flexible Bulk Container Association, when it was established in the year 2002. Presently, he is the member of the governing council of the same. He is also the regional chairman, Southern Region of Plastic Export Promotion Council since 2015. This council is sponsored by Ministry of Commerce, Government of India. Mr. Kamath was also the president of AIFTMA, and currently he is the managing committee member of the same, the Association of Plastic Woven Sack Manufacturers in India, which is having more than 500 members. Also, he is also Vice President of Plus India Foundation also. Thank you, sir, for giving your valuable time. We welcoming you and all participants. Also, I will introduce our today's speaker. He is an engineer with an MBA and PhD. I was just sending him a message to rename your name into Samir Kapur, which he didn't do. And versatile professional with over 20 years of experience He is currently a part of senior management team of Adfactors PR, India's biggest PR agency. He strategized, executed multiple PR, industry relations, advocacy, and marketing campaigns for various political parties, companies, startup, leading Indian multinational companies. So, welcome, Dr. Samir, for your further presentation. Also, I welcome all the industry veterans and exporters, our friends and colleagues from the industry. Welcome you all. Hand it over to Dr. Samir Kapur for further presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Joseph, and thank you, sir, for giving us this opportunity. And good evening to all of you who have taken time out from your schedule to listen to us and talk about it. As both Mr. Joseph and sir said, these are unprecedented times. This is actually a time that no one would have expected the entire world to come to a halt. Many years back, when we were studying our management in MBA, early 90s, there was a term that was coined at that time called the VUCA world. That was only a term it's an acronym used for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that is a time when, we were just using it as a phrase. That is, it is something that is used for normal thing. Oh, we are in volatile times, we are in uncertain times. But suddenly what has happened from March is that we are now living in a VUCA world. Nobody is sure what's going to happen next. Nobody is sure when is this, this virus, that pandemic has taken all our economic things to halt, is going to, get the thing when the vaccine is going to come out. But what is sure is it has accelerated the change or the disruption that we all were living in. So RBK sir started off with introducing as to how mobile changed the way we stopped going to the banks and have now started using banks on our mobile. Similarly, from our ordering of food, which is now happening on, on the apps, to the aspect of how the overall data is getting consumed by all of us in India. From a data perspective, just to put things for all of you, the way Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Hotstars have shown great numbers during this lockdown of 100 days, I don't think they were expecting this kind of a change ever in their life. And even television is not getting, that kind of eyeballs that television thought it will, because of resurgence of old serials like Mahabharata and Ramayana being retelecasted, and DD garnering a huge market share in that category as well. What is happening even for us as consumers, that we have also transitioned. So print in the US and in Europe was dying or is almost dead. But in India, it was flourishing because a lot of us still consume our news on the print side. But post-March, what has happened is that the apps like a Daily Hunt or InShots or News Points or whatever app that you are consuming your news on has also made sure that you shift to that category in a much larger format. Point I'm trying to make is that anything that you were expecting the change to happen by 2025 or 2026 has happened in 2020. So what COVID has done is has accelerated our entire element by 5 to 6 years. Things that we were thinking that digital will take a larger market share by 2025, 2026, that has already started shipping out. Or e-commerce will not impact the B2B sector or the sector that you are in, it has already started impacting. Or I will not be able to reach out to my B2B consumer in any which ways using digital, but it has already started happening. So point I'm trying to make is that what COVID has done is it has accelerated all of us into a new era, which is uncharted for us. We have not even seen that kind of thing. And what is it that the MSME sector, the sector that you belong to, you can learn from this, and how do you adapt to this changing lifestyle and the changing consumer decision-making journey that is happening? So I have a small presentation. I will just share that presentation with all of you. And I will, but that was my opening statement. Who's the host? The host will have to enable my screen so that I can share the screen. Someone has disabled the screen.
Kunal, please.
Kunal, are you the host? Can you please enable my screen for presentation?
Adfactor is managing it. They have already done it.
We'll just
Yeah.
It's done now.
Just give me a signal when you see the slides, please.
Sure. Sir, it's visible now.
Yeah.
You're on, Samir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, since RBK sir started off with Richard Branson, I also want to take this opportunity of talking about Warren Buffett, one of the leading investors of the world. At one point of time, he's still in the top 10 list of the richest man alive. He's mentioned that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and just 5 minutes to finish it off. And from a business perspective, if you think of this phrase, very strongly, you will do whatever you're doing very, very differently. And the activities that all of you in your space for your businesses that you are in, you would have taken your known name in your space and your sectors, but you have never given a thought of using or taking that name or a branding to a search engine, which is Google, because most of us Google ourselves or Google the person that we are trying to meet. Google is now becoming a proxy to everything. For this generation, it is always on, which is always connected. Again, RBK sir started that we are spending a lot of our time on mobile. There is a report that has come in that during this lockdown, the number of hours that we are spending on our mobiles have actually gone up by 25-26%, which is a huge number, and you will see. And most of the Netflix and Amazon Primes that are being watched in India are watched on the mobile screens now. So that's the level of mobile. In fact, mobile has become so important, and the password is so important that for a couple of times you can think of sharing your bank account with your wife, the details, the password, but you can't think of sharing the bank account detail, the mobile detail of password with your wife. That's the that's the thing that we take our mobile so seriously. It's a very, very private thing. We keep it to our heart. It's the last thing that we see before we sleep, and the first thing that we see when we get up. Now, that's the level of activity that a mobile has in us. This is what I'm going to talk about, primarily about understanding of the MSME space, what's the impact of digital, and how things are moving forward. So MSME is actually the lifeline of the country. There are many which are registered. It contributes 29% to the GDP, and most around 11 crore people are employed by this sector, right? And in the element of the entire thing that the government of India is doing, that is the sector that government of India has announced various packages for. If you look at micro, small, and total, there's some 63.39 million MSMEs that exist in the country today. These are, of course, known data. And on the sectoral side, if you look at the MSMEs, from manufacturing to other services to trade, this is how the 63 million has been divided over 3 segments, 19, 20, and 23. Now, what has COVID done? And people have been talking about it. So COVID has affected this at various levels. There is a lockdown, retail has been hit, travel, hospitality, tourism, logistics, everyone is seeing a big sharp decline. The e-commerce is partly operational, but of course it is unlikely to remain immune. Any person who's being tested positive on COVID, there is a complete quarantine that happens, and the impact then happens across the value chain. The consumer goods segment has seen so all segments are seeing a huge decrease in demand. If you look at the numbers that have come in today, the PMI index that has been calculated as to how the overall numbers look at. Anything below 50 talks of contraction. The May number were at 14. So that was something that is unheard of and never have it ever been seen. The new numbers that have come in is at 38. Even the 38 number, while from 14, when you see 38, it will say, oh yeah, you know, we have doubled. So there is some activity that has started happening. But the benchmark is 50. Anything below 50 talks about contraction. So right now, even after opening up, the number has not come to 30. So that means recovery, which people were thinking will have a V-shaped recovery, you know, the way it has come down, it will go up. It's not going to happen in the same manner. So sectors that are dependent on the things like consumer durables, etc., are facing a lot of bottlenecks, and you are seeing a huge amount of contraction that is coming. If you are looking at newspapers, you are looking at readings, a lot of companies and a lot of economists are predicting a negative growth from a GDP perspective for India. It started off from minus 0.05. The latest says it can go as low as 6.5 minus. So that is the contraction that we are seeing in the economy, for an economy which has always grown above 5.5% for decades. Suddenly you're going to see a contraction. That's going to be a huge sea change. We are seeing what happened to the migrant laborers. We are seeing what kind of levels that they are going through. So what is it that is impacting? The only thing is you have all segments in an organization, and similarly in a consumer segment as well. There are certain changes that digital is impacting or is showing, and these are the digital impact that all of us as businessmen from MSME's perspective, what is it that we need to do? How do we need to pivot to digital so that we see the new world or the world order in a different way? So there are a lot of challenges that MSMEs are facing, and hence this COVID time is at the time for digital transformation. So technologies are getting transformed, supply chain inefficiencies are there, there's an increasing global competition, it's an uncertain market scenario, and there is a lack of investor and funding because nobody is sure as to where to invest in. And because of which there are a lot of issues that these formulations are happening. Now the solutions that are there can help realize the true potential of any sector. Now whether you are a small player, where your turnover is around 1 crore, or whether your turnover is around 50 crores. So in that segment, how do you make sure that digital solutions can help? Now these ICTs adoptions and cloud computing is a new way that is coming up. There's something called big data and data mining, because in order to understand what's happening, as I said, everything is getting Googled. Your Google will tell you what was the thing that you did, what is the stuff that you're looking at. You go to Facebook, you go to Insta, you look at the video. The next time when you open it up, the same kind of videos will be shown on your timeline. It is not that someone is watching you. There's a data algorithm that is being done. And if you watch, let's say football, they will show you football clips. If you watched a comedian, they will show you all the comedian clips. So it depends as to which all segments you are clicking on, and therefore that big data is getting mined. Amazon is using it. Flipkart is using it. The moment you you watch a particular thing and you come out, in case you are on Google, it will start showing you a similar kind of ad. That is happening because of a new thing that is coming, which is machine learning, that is machine is learning, and there is an artificial intelligence that is coming into the way. And now the things are talking, a machine is talking to a machine, and that is called the IoT, that is Internet of Things is happening in a big way. So these are some of the things when, of course, app development is a big thing, e-commerce is a big thing. All of this is making sure that you have to have an impact on improved quality of products, on better standardization of business, a better ERP, better accounting, manufacturing design, including regulatory compliances. That's improving in a huge way. So when I look at this, what is it that MSMEs are support or can do? The first thing is they can transform themselves digitally, which means they can have access to this knowledge and the best practices that are being done across. There's an operational excellence that will come from wider geographies through real-time insights. You can look at to be financial prudence, because that's where the entire the world is moving towards. Decision-making, risk mitigation are the things that we are looking at. But very importantly, where is your customer? what is that the customer is doing, and hence what are your marketing tools that are needed to reach out to that customer. Now the customer decision making journey has also changed, which means at one point of time there was a sales funnel that all of us are used to. It was a simple funnel. These are the kind of people who are prospecting, and this is the small kind of thing that is coming to us as a formal logic. But the customer now starts everything on Google. It searches for it, and within that search there is a lot of to and fro that happens in that customer. So the journey, which was at one point of time linear, has become more of an exponential. And therefore, what can MSMEs do in order to make sure that I reach on to this category? So for this, the important part for MSMEs is to listen to these digital conversation and to act on them. Now, where do you, so I'm not asking you to spend a lot of money on cloud computing and others. These are free tools that are available. So you have a Google platform, you have a YouTube platform, you have a Facebook platform, you can be on Twitter, and you can be on LinkedIn. These are the 4 or 5 platforms that you can, and they are free of cost. But the way you have invested in making yourself one of the well-known entities in your business and in your area, the same way you need to invest in making sure that you are in these digital platforms as well. So what is it that is happening? And what is the changes that we are, so there are key shifts in the digital media behavior because of the smartphones. So there is a report that Nielsen just released in May, and is saying the usage of digital media on smartphone alone, which is the way you watch things on smartphone alone, has gone up to 4 hours per day, which is an increase of 40%. And this is the first phase of lockdown when Modi ji announced the the Janta curfew. From Janta curfew to mid of May, that is the first month, saw an increase of 14%. And the share of time was spent more on gaming, on social networking, on chat, on voice over internet, and other things that have gone up. Now, Zoom, for example, was not even in our local parlance for till March. We've been using, I run a PR agency. We've never used Zoom for any of our meetings, but in 100 days, probably I would have used Zoom many hours. So there's a huge increase in the way these entire things are. So 18% is on chat, 15% is on social networking, 16% is on utility, 14% is on video streaming. This is a data that has been captured from 15,000 people that they have surveyed, and this is what the survey is. So a gaming app is seeing a whooping 62% increase. Ludo King, which is one of the app, has seen the maximum number of downloads. Education apps are up. There's a huge thing. Now this is primarily about, most of the students are also now having their online classes, because of which they have to use these apps. Virtual meeting app has gone up by 446%. And this social distancing, even after it opens up, the offices are not going to be, or the workplace is not going to be what it was earlier. So what COVID has done is it has changed the way you behave. So this is one behavior shift that has happened primarily on the smartphone that we are looking at. The second is, even the e-commerce space has changed. The behavior has changed. People who were wary of using Flipkart and Amazon have been using Amazon and Flipkart in a big way. They are reporting a huge amount of things. So Cantor, which is a company that looks at this behavior in the e-commerce space, has come out with a report which says 1 in 3 consumers have started using a new brand as a result of innovative or compassionate ways the brand has responded to a particular pandemic. Also, 32% of households have increased their e-commerce spends during this pandemic, and 38% they say that they will continue to buy from online even after the pandemic is over. So that's the level of changes from a consumer side that we are talking about, and hence the acceleration of e-commerce is creating a new household norm, and that is what is emerging. So for MSMEs, what is in it for you? Can I make my products and offerings which are relevant to this new consumer shift? And therefore, how do I shift? It is, do I make sure that my sites are relevant to this new normals? Similarly, is my communication relevant to this new customer set of customer? And am I educating my customer about the safety and hygiene practices that I'm following at my place of work? So those are the changes that are happening. So the visible change that we can look at from a consumer perspective is there is a new wave of e-commerce shoppers that is coming. There's an era of value consciousness in the time when you're not sure what's going to happen. You're not sure how my revenues are going to be impacted. I'm not sure where my next bucks are going to come from. The flight always is from luxury to value consciousness. People will shift from brand to something that give them more functionality. That is an era of value consciousness that we are happening. 100 of you who are there on this call, I'm sure you are also questioning each and every spend that you're doing, and you are shifting to a brand which you think in your mind is giving you more value for money. And of course, there is a move towards a local consumption, because of which there is an entire huge market that gets opened up for the MSMEs in a big way. Now, on the purchase decision, if you look at it, this is a pre-COVID purchase decision by an Indian urban consumer. The consumer will check 2 data points before making a minimum of 2 data points before making a purchase, and he might go and purchase the stuff online. So by which I mean, there is something called phygital that has started emerging. Phygital is a concept where I go and see the product physically, but I come back and order the product online. So one was digital. That means I see it on digital and then I go and search for it in my local shops. But the reverse started happening in the pre-COVID era, where a person was going to the nearby shop, looking at the stuff, figuring out whether it fits in, and then search it on the online space and see where it is getting at a cheaper value. Then of course we have during era, what has changed during this COVID, that is there is more of health awareness. Corona has made people conscious of the entire journey, and locally produced products are becoming a necessity both for retailers as well as for consumers. So importance of certain decision criteria will increase. However, the post-COVID, there's a BCG and a Facebook report that has come in, which says there's a huge opportunity for made in India. You are also seeing what's happening at the borders and this entire open for local thing that has been, the call that has been given. So a lot of these people are going to have the purchase changes or the decision changes on the purchases, because of which we can actually capture this market or look at this, how that decision can help in our favor. The other is, from an MSME perspective, are we asking ourselves right questions now? Which primarily means, while I'm ramping up my supply, is my website ready? Is my brand digitally ready? Am I engaging with the consumer virtually? And am I making content which is relevant to his part? Which means if he's consuming content in a particular way, how do I make sure that I'm part of his consumer thing? Now in the digital space, it is not about what media says. It is about I am the media, which primarily means on my Facebook, on my Insta, it's the story that I tell. The brands that fits into my story will be the part of my storytelling, and the brands which still wants to be very snooty, brands which still wants to be, wants to talk about their own stuff, they will not be part of my story. So in the entire thing, it's the way consumer wants to tell their story is what this entire thing is. Now, the consumer is now moving towards video as well. So the video consumption trends are also changing. People are turning to videos to cope with the COVID-19 situation, and of course to stay healthy as well. The top video searches are on work from home essentials, study with me, meal preparation, stress reduction, and in-home fitness. These are the elements on which most of the studies have been. 100-minute is what the average person is going to of the content creation is going to happen on video. That means because of YouTube and because of things, people are going to look at how, sorry? Okay. And study shows 80% of the consumers have consumed more content since Corona outbreak than they did before. So a video consumption trend is going to be a huge thing. Now, what's in it for us, for MSMEs? We need to use video as a primary tool. Have online events, have webinars, enhance the experience, make sure that the customer gets engaged, have a real purpose for your communication and it's not only about buy me preposition, it's about being compassionate, understanding what the consumer is looking at and how your product and services are going to help them out. And finally, look at mobile first as a strategy, because most of the things have gone into this segment, that is this device, which is the first one that is emerging for all of us to do our basic search. So just to summarize as to what is the change from a consumer perspective, the MSMEs need to make sure that they are present on the digital media. They need to understand the e-commerce behavior. They need to make sure that they are enough on the search side, whether it is optimization, marketing, all needs to happen on the search engine side. And content needs to be created in such a way that it is more engaging for the consumer, and the videos have to be looked in that fashion. So this is what MSME needs to prepare themselves for the new normal. Now, when I look at the way forward for this digital transformation and how it's going to help, primarily it is about what's your story. At the end of the day, we all are what we call it as the storytellers. The biggest stories that have been told to us, whether it is Mahabharata or it is Ramayana, has been told to us for ages. But every time a new form comes in, you want to look at that story from a different angle. Primarily what I'm saying, we've seen Ram Leelas happening, and we're seeing the stories that are appearing in, from the Ram Leela, which is more like a drama on stage, to Ramanand Sagar's Ram Leela, which was on screen. And now, of course, it has gone on to the all elements and all levels to it. So for a brand, what is that story is what is important. So can I have a progressive web app, which is e-commerce and artificial intelligence, which is from the readiness part of it? Can I make sure that my content marketing is there so that I'm aware? Can I create virtual and real retail experience center? Because lack of retail and entertainment is going to leave a void, so that there is a better production and consideration part for it. So first is readiness, second is awareness, third part is engagement, and fourth part is about these virtual demos and product videos, which is part of consideration. Then is the purchase. That means I need to be more on the searchability side, and my content should be more marketed, and that's where the purchase element comes in. And finally, on the sixth part is, how do I make sure that my customer relationship management becomes a very critical element in what I'm doing. So CRM becomes very important. I'm understanding the journey of the consumer. How is he coming? How is he purchasing? What all is he doing? Where is he spending his time? And can my product help him in going there? Last but not the least is the use of public relation, something that my company does. We have helped a lot of MSMEs in managing their PR, it is about third-party content platforms which will give you that relevance. So an influencer talking about you, a media talking about you, whether it is online, a third party talking about you. And that talking can actually be taken on WhatsApp to your group. It can be taken on Insta. It can be taken on Snapchats or on Facebook. That helps you in propagating or amplifying the stuff that you're doing. But the power of a third party platform cannot be undermined. So it is becoming more relevant in the current times. It is becoming more important in the current times, and digital has made sure that it transforms in a big way. Now, readiness from a perspective of how the web is getting used, internet, and what exactly is coming on it. So we need to think mobile first. We need to make sure that the website, in case you don't have it, you need to make one, and then you improve the discoverability of it. And use these apps which are freely available and tools for making sure that we are ready. And at the end, it has to be about conversation. You just can't have monologue. You just can't have your man ki baat, just blasted all across. You need to make sure that you listen to the other person as well, and at the same time have a conversation around it. So it is not about selling per se, it is about making sure that social selling happens, and social media helps you in doing that. So staying relevant becomes very, very important. And therefore, what exactly we are doing is we are using multiple elements of content marketing to make sure that we are relevant in the correct platform. So the brands, they may not be, while brands are unavailable on the physical stores, but you can use the social media in a right way to make sure that your brand gets consumed at least digitally. So it can be expert sessions, hobby groups, social selling, influencer marketing, blogging, collaborating, WhatsApp chatbots, ORMs, paid media, video content, and email automation for marketing. All these can be done. These are the new trends that are catching up in post-COVID era. And as I mentioned earlier, they are not expensive. They're not that you have to spend a lot of money. You can do it on your own, or you can have a PR agency that can help you in managing this entire thing. Engagement is important. As I said, it is not about just blasting your message. It is about engaging with your target audience. And therefore, from an engagement perspective, you need to have immersive demos, rooms for live interaction, pre-booking from the demos perspective, building customer database, making sure that the manufacturing and supply chain happens in a right way. And of course, all that you do from a consumer perspective is relevant and has quality in it. So when I look at what is it that a consideration and purchase happens from a query to a sales release, you need to upgrade your physical place into an e-commerce store. You need to manage your ORM. You need to increase your interaction, invest in chatbots, and don't hide, because social media is very, very important for discovery. I'm saying it again, don't hide. Media is very important for your discovery. While you could think that you can do the business in one format, which was pre-COVID era, but the COVID era is going to change the way the entire consumer behavior and its decision-making journeys are happening. The retention and advocacy from this journey is you need to collaborate with third-party content creators, and customer relationship management is your friend rather than an investment or a cost. So consider CRM as your friend so that you can get more and more people. So from a immediate action point for MSMEs, what you need to do is transform your strategy. What you need to do is move to virtual experiences, and you need to have augmented reality, AR, and virtual trials coming together. A lot of platforms are now available which will allow this to happen. Now, just one or two slides on why public relation, because I've spoken about it. This is one tool that is emerging as the most important tool. One is it creates a compelling story. It builds organic credibility. That means you are getting third-party voices. It stretches your marketing budgets. It's much, much cheaper than advertising. It is more effective than advertising. It supports and supplements all initiatives that you can do. It helps manage crisis in case there is one that emerges for whatever reason, or the reputation issues can be made better. It can help you in brand visibility and improve your share of voice. You can be more discoverable on Google only by making sure that your PR is done well, and it creates a long-lasting relationship. But of course, it delivers value for money, and it showcases that you are the leader in the space that you operate in, and your expertise through third party can be taken to a lot of media, including LinkedIn, including Twitter, including Insta, to talk about how good you are in the space that you operate in. So that's what the public relation can do. And the entire balance is tilted towards PR, because the way current advertising is going, it is of course expensive, audience is skeptical, and it's paid. It can give you exposure, but PR is earned, it builds trust, and it gives media the third party validation that media is needed to give. It is less expensive. All of us have shifted from the ad-led area to Netflix and Amazon Primes, and we are paying money to them because we don't want to see the ads. One of the reasons is that the current consumer, the millennials, the ones who were born in 80s, they are the guys who are now shunning advertising and is moving more towards public relation. That's why the new consumer, or the consumer that is now going to be having a huge amount of spends of the wallet, is going to be more aligned towards public relation rather than aligned to advertising. So that was my piece that I wanted to talk about. Thank you, and I'm open for any questions.
Hello. Hi, this is Hussein.
Yes, Hussein.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about Google Ads,
Yeah.
and how does one go about setting a budget for that, like in terms of AdWords and...
Yes. So Google AdWords, Hussein, helps you in, again, from a discoverability perspective. It helps you something that I talked about. Google AdWords are tools created by Google where you can purchase those ads and you appear in the first 3 pages of it. The budget, actually, it's an algorithm, which means you try it out with it's like investing in a stock market. You don't go and invest everything in one go. You do what is called systematic investment plan. So it's a similar way that you do a small sip. You spend, let's say, $1,000, look at the efficacy, and then increase your budgets around it.
Understood. And just one more question, like
Yes.
for a company that does only like B2B transactions,
Right.
where most of our, we're targeting companies rather than people. How
Right.
do we use social over there? Because in terms of the presentation, a lot of the social was, going after customers who, like going after directly the consumer rather than a business. So any strategy over there?
Yes, Hussein. That's a valid question, and most of the people are asking this kind of a question to us. See, in the current format in social media, there is nothing called B2C or B2B. Everyone is So, for example, while you are going to companies, but there are purchase officers or people who are purchasing on companies' behalf. So ultimately, there are influencers or decision makers who are going to take that decision. And if they've heard your brand, if they've listened to you, or they're following up on, you on LinkedIn or on Twitter, or they're hearing you on the Google, the chances of you going through that is much higher than a brand that they've not heard. So therefore, the issue of B2B versus B2C, social has kind of done away with that. So you are as good as a GE, you are as good as what Apple is or iPhone is.
Understood. Thank you so much.
Samir, this is Vikram Bhadoria from Alok Master Batches here.
Yes, Chief.
I just wanted to ask you that all of us are primarily from manufacturing backgrounds.
Right.
And we have very little exposure or experience with digital media, digital promotions.
Right.
So who can help us with these campaigns that need to be run? They might be country specific, they might be region specific or industry specific.
Right.
Now, when you talk to people who are doing the advertisements for Google, LinkedIn, it's a never-ending sea, and most of the times, we don't understand what they are saying, and they are not able to understand what our requirement is. So it's old economy meeting new economy.
Yeah, absolutely.
How would you suggest that we bridge this gap so that the communication between at least the two people who are leading the campaign gets addressed?
So, Mr. Bhadoria, you asked a valid question. So again, the thing is, you can use digital agencies which are there, such as Adfactors. I'm not saying use me only, but there are enough in the ecosystem. We have done a lot of work sitting in India for a client who wants to do something in Australia, who wants to do something in US, who wants to do something in Europe, using these LinkedIns and Googles, because we understand as to what their needs are. And we also understand from a perspective of what Google and LinkedIn can do or cannot do, because there are limitations as well. So there is a new norm. I don't want to use the jargons, but there is something called performance marketing, which primarily is trying to figure out how your ROI, return on investment from a marketing perspective, is coming. So there's a complete matrix that gets drawn in. You can understand, like Hussein asked, can I measure from the AdWord perspective, which is just the first form, to a performance marketing that happens at a multiple level. Who has clicked through? What is it that So let's say Amazon, you would have done that. You've gone to Amazon, you've clicked something that you liked on your cart, but you've left it. And the moment you go out, suddenly you'll see same kind of ads that are coming in. So there's a huge amount of a backend that is working at the place where they are figuring out that Vikram is going to this cart and is trying to buy, let's say, an Apple phone on Amazon, but for some reason he's not bought it. And therefore that data will then get mined by others, marketers, and then they will of course reach to you. So those are the levels of performance market. So it is called retargeting, which means, you may not be in the right frame of mind at that time to buy because of whatever reasons, you were distracted, you were watching something else, so on and so forth. Can I retarget back to you so that I can sweeten the deal? So same thing can be done, whether it is getting a contract, looking at a thing, getting people from outside, all those things, companies are spending that kind of money in a targeted fashion. So just to answer your question from an agency perspective, the agency can be that bridge between these platforms and you, and they will make sure that you get the desired ROI.
Great, thanks. And as from a country perspective, I want to talk to you about that. We as Plexconcil now, we have taken the initiative that we are identifying which are the major consumption economies where our competing countries are supplying, the biggest being China.
Right.
How can we reach out to these countries who are big buyers of material from China and tell them that, in India also we have these products that you can buy. We have identified a few HS codes that we are working on, but now we don't know we know who is buying it, but we don't know how to reach out to them.
Right. So there are two routes, Vikram, for that. One is, of course, you reach out directly to them. One is, of course, called the CRM. The other route is use the advent of third party, which is media influencers, or use your own stuff. By which I mean, can I get you to blog about it as to how Indian goods are, if not better, but if they are equal to what Chinese goods are. Also, if I may use that word, there is a underlying paranoia about this entire Chinese thing now. You're seeing what Japan has did, you've seen what Australia is doing, you've seen what US is doing. Can we ride onto this? And this is where public relation will help you in riding on. One or two quotes, one or two elements saying, is India ready to take on the this exodus that might happen from China? If that kind of stories can be put in, worked on, you can actually reach out to those people. Also, from a customer perspective, there are certain habits that a consumer has from where he's buying, what is the news that he's consuming, so on and so forth. Once we get a complete customer profile, we do it through NCCS as to how the customer profile is looking like. We can help you in that. In US, there's something called Prism. In India, it's called NCCS, which was earlier called SEC, which is what all channels Vikram is consuming. So let's say you're consuming CNBC. Can I get a story there which will talk about from a business element perspective? Or Samir Kapur is consuming Dainik Jagran. I'm just giving an example. So therefore, and Samir is one of the target audience. So can I look at Dainik Jagran to reach out to him? So similarly, in India, it is very complex because we are a very diverse country. I'm in Delhi. If you draw a circle 50 kilometers from my place, the Times of India and Economic Times lose their relevance. And now it depends where am I going. It can be Rajasthan Patrika, it can be Punjab Kesari, it can be Amar Ujala, it can be Dainik Jagran. And similarly in Maharashtra, you move away from Mumbai, just 25 kilometers, a Times of India, Economic Times, Mumbai Mirror will lose its value. So it can be a Lokmat, it can be any other or Podari, or anyone can emerge as the next player. So, but in Australia, in US, in Europe, there are limited media. There is a limited consumption. You just have 4 or 5. Singapore, for example, just 2 papers. Limited websites. It's easier from a targeting perspective. India is a very complex market in that sense. Therefore, of course.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Samir.
Thank you.
Mr. Samir?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Siddharth Roy from Silvassa, basically. one question is there in the digital platform, how to ensure the privacy and security, looking to the information security point of view. Can you please suggest some guidelines?
Yes, sir. That's that is one thing that we are working on from a regulatory perspective. I'm sure you are aware. Last year, GDPR came in Europe, which means that they can no longer, without asking you, get your cookies. But in India, that GDPR, we are still working towards it. But as far as ensuring your own privacy is concerned, don't go to the third parties which is asking for your mobile numbers and which are asking for your email IDs, because you'll be spammed. So that's the only way that you can, and don't just start filling forms to contest, etc., because all of them are getting marketed. So that's the basic fundamental thing that we are saying. The other is in case you're using mobiles, Apple is supposed to be more secure than Android. That's the only base that I have as far as the recommendation is concerned. But if you are searching in Europe and US, if you click that you don't want your cookies to be used by the website, nobody can then retarget to you. But in India and in other parts of Asia, that GDPR doesn't apply. Then yes, you can become part of your data can be taken. So that privacy doesn't apply.
I'd like to add in here, Mr. Siddharth, that the council is having another webinar on Monday at 4:30 p.m. addressing digital and cyber security.
Great. Yeah.
So you can get in touch with Kunal or get onto the Twitter handle of Plexconcil, and you can have access to that webinar also. I'll suggest all the members present here, please do attend that webinar also. How do MSMEs tackle cyber security in these times when we are engaging more and more electronically? It will be very helpful for you all.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good initiative. I think that's a good initiative.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Samir.
Yes.
Yeah, hi, good evening. This is Sushot Kemkar. I'm representing Bunk Polypacks. And we are into manufacturing. And we manufacture and export we are having 100% export of our products. So what channel or what digital marketing criteria you will suggest for the export marketing so that we can reach to our target audience and customers through digital media? Like in one of the slides, you said upgrade physical store, etc. to e-commerce. So that is something not possible for export marketing.
Correct.
So what kind of channels or media you will suggest for these kind of marketing?
So there are a lot of marketplaces which are there, which are only catering to B2B and exports. There are enough that has emerged. I can take this offline. I will just share my email ID. We can have a discussion on this. But purely from a platform perspective, we are looking at LinkedIn is the most used platform for business to business or a business kind of a thing that happens. But I'll need little more data points for me to give you an intelligent answer on this.
Okay.
I'm just typing my email ID. You can share your query to me. I will get back to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe there is no more question. Ginu, over to you, and thank you for having me here. I think we saved 1 minute from the 1 hour.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today.
Thank you. Such a nice
webinar. Any more questions?
No. It's very informative. Huh? It's really great.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Parag, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I would be interested to know that if I'm targeting governments of different countries and certain engineering and educational institutes, then what is the platform to use? Because those are the areas where it's very difficult to get in touch with them. So how do I promote? Because I'm targeting to those target audience.
Right. So Paragji, again, the thing will be while you've given a definition which is little broad, the governments and others. So there are a lot of chambers that these governments operate through, and most of them have an area of operations. Similarly, educational institutions are part of multiple forums that are there. It depends what exactly are you targeting them for. Is it content? Is it stuff that you are going to provide to them, so on and so forth? I have marked my email ID. If you can, there are certain questions that I might have to you. If you can just let me know as to what exactly you're looking at, I'll be able to answer that question.
Sure, I will send a mail on this, and then you can guide me on.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot.
But again, if you are asking from a platform, from a business platform, nobody has been able to challenge as of now LinkedIn from a platform perspective. And from a searchability perspective, it's Google. So these are the two, what we call coupling effect that is there, so that you can get maximum ROI as of now. But Facebook, Insta are, things which are more B2C rather than B2B. So we don't recommend Insta and Facebook to all our clients, and specifically to clients which are more on the MSME space. But depending, again, it depends what exactly. So an MSME shifting to a sanitizer wants to reach out to someone else, then of course the game changes, right? And because your product is changing and you're looking at a different product now altogether, and your target audience is changing. But if you're looking at an institutions to reach out to, then of course LinkedIn remains one of the most important platforms from our outreach.
I will send you my complete project, and then you can guide me. I think that would make better sense.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Hello, Mr. Samir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. This is Mr. Anil, and I'm in marketing, basically in export marketing from Central Plastopec Industries. We are manufacturer of shearing film, and we are having both market, domestic and export. We are having the 60% market in domestic, and our 40% market is export. So mostly our competitor, most major competitor is China.
Right.
So means as I assume and observed that our importer is new, okay, and we are working with them. Suddenly he comes into contact with a Chinese buyer. So means I observed that China has such kind of mechanism that they come to know that who's exporting to whom. So can we find out that where Chinese exporters are exporting their products to whom and what?
Sir, individually it becomes difficult unless and until I have the data. So if the question is, can we find it? Of course we can find out. But it requires a lot of data mining to be done, specifically to the products that you are working in. Statistical data that is available in public will be easier for us to mine out. But the ones that, the specific segments that you're looking at, we need to understand this little better. So point I'm trying to make is, the data numbers which are available, I'll be easy to tell you, okay, this is where China is exporting, because that's a number that gets published, which is there on multiple sites, so on and so forth. But, which exactly one particular thing is trying to figure out, that of course is little difficult. I need more data for that.
Means you will have to do R&D on that, only then it can be done.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'll help you.
Wonderful presentation. And there are more presentations coming up by Plexconcil. Remember to follow Plexconcil Twitter account so that you will be updated. And Krunal is posting more data here on the chat. It will be saved.
Mr. Joseph, I think once I'll just, because I'll be failing in my duties on behalf of Plexconcil, I should thank you and Dr. Samir. The session was very useful and informative. I hope all the viewers have got some insight into digital marketing. And we at Plexconcil will continue to organize this type of webinar. I request all the viewers, please join us in future. Whenever we are there, we'll keep you informed about the same. Thank you, Mr. Joseph and Dr. Samir. A wonderful time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you very much, everyone.